The Blue Mountains are located in New South Wales, Australia, just 83 kilometers from Sydney. Situated in the central parts of the Sydney Basin, the Blue Mountains are a part of an extensive mountainous area associated with the Great Dividing Range. The region is surrounded by the Nepean and Hawkesbury rivers in the east, the Cox River and Lake Burragorang to the west and south, and the Wollongong and Colo rivers to the north. The Blue Mountains Range consists of a range of mountains and plateau escarpments extending off the Great Dividing Range. The Great Western Highway and the Main Western Railway line cover about two-thirds of its length. There are several towns established in the region, such as Katoomba, Blackheath, Mount Victoria, and Springwood. The Explorer Range and the Bell Range are a part of the Blue Mountains Range as well. One of the most famous tourist attractions in the Blue Mountains is the Three Sisters. Located at Echo Point, Katoomba, this rock formation is visited by millions of people every year. The Aboriginal legend goes that three sisters, Mini, Wimla, and Gunadu, from the Katoomba tribe, fell in love with three brothers from the Nepean tribe. Unfortunately, tribal law prohibited them from getting married to each other. Angry with this law, the brothers tried to capture the sisters so they could marry them. This sparked a major tribal war. To protect the sisters, a witch doctor for the Katoomba tribe turned them into stone, creating the Three Sisters rock formation. In 1788, Governor Arthur Phillip gave the Blue Mountains their original name, the Carmarthen Hills and the Lansdowne Hills. Soon after, though, the name was changed to the Blue Mountains. Why such a unique name? The Blue Mountains are covered by oil-bearing eucalyptus trees. This causes the atmosphere to be filled with finely dispersed droplets of oil. When this combines with dust particles in the air and water vapor, the light wavelengths appear blue in color, creating a distinctive blue haze over the mountain range. However, the rich story of the Blue Mountains predates the British settlement in Australia. In fact, Australian Aboriginals lived in the Blue Mountains long before European arrival. Historians have been unable to determine the exact date of the indigenous presence of the Blue Mountains, but we do know that the Gudagara people and the Duruk people lived in the Blue Mountains for thousands of years. How is this known? Archaeologists have uncovered extensive rock art in caves that have been dated back several millennia. One of the most famous ancient rock carvings is called the Flight of the Great Grey Kangaroo, and it can be found at the foot of the Hawkesbury Lookout. Another example of rock art found in the caves of the Blue Mountains is in the Red Hands Cave, where we can see hand stencils from adults and children drawn on the walls. When the British arrived, they determined that the rough terrain of the Blue Mountains made it difficult to cross and settle. However, in 1813, the British discovered the gently sloping mountains to the west, and the Blue Mountains were no longer considered an impossible barrier. So, in 1814, engineer William Cox put together a team and built a road across the mountains. With this road now built, the British began to further settle in the Blue Mountains, erecting buildings and military posts. Then in 1850, during the gold rush, many people traveled into the Blue Mountains to mine the gold discovered in the region. With its growing popularity, a railway system was built, and by 1867, the first official trip by train in the Blue Mountains was made. The greater area of the Blue Mountains National Park consists of exceptional ecological diversity and a wide range of habitats. With over 500 types of vegetation communities and 28 different vegetation classes, the national park ranks high amongst forests in Australia, supporting ecological diversity. The 7 main vegetation communities within the park include dry sclerophyll forests, wet sclerophyll forests, rainforests, grassy woodlands, heathlands, freshwater wetlands, and forested wetlands. However, most of the Blue Mountains area consists of dry sclerophyll forests. The canopies are made of a variety of eucalyptus that can grow and stretch throughout the forest with relatively low nutrient soils. The forest area is also unique for its diverse shrub population, which consists of banksias, wattles, peas, and other sclerophyll shrubs. In areas with low soil nutrients, it's common to see upland freshwater swamps. In the spring seasons, the heathland shrubs play a vital role in supplying food resources for many birds and small mammals, while the swamps help store water during wet seasons. With an estimate of 1,500 species of plants, the Blue Mountain area supports 5 main species: acacia and myrtles, banksias and grevilleas, pea flowers and orchids, baronias and heaths, and other smaller families. Furthermore, the forest is home to over 400 types of animal species, including many endangered and threatened animals. Some common animals include the tiger quoll, the yellow-bellied glider, the green and golden bell frog, the blue mountain water skink, the dingo, koalas, kangaroos, bats, and other birds. The Blue Mountains are facing several great threats. The World Heritage Outlook lists the current and potential threat levels as high. First, about 10% of all bushland species in the Blue Mountains are listed as threatened by the New South Wales government. Growing urban development in the region has proved to be a threat to the large preservation of the Blue Mountains. Also, the high biodiversity in the area and the large numbers of endemic species both provide even greater reason to protect the mountains. The most urgent threat to the mountains is from a root rot pathogen named Phytophthora cinnamomii, which causes death to the vegetation. It is mostly spread through humans through our boots, bikes, and motor vehicles, which has made tourism a potential threat to the complex ecosystem of the Blue Mountains. Wildfires also pose a high threat to the area. As we have seen earlier this year, the Blue Mountains suffered greatly from the ravaging bushfires. Climate change will continue to shift fire regimes, which will result in unnecessary fires that can hurt the habitat of a wide number of species. Around 80% of the World Heritage listed mountain area was affected during the fires earlier this year, and over 60 threatened fauna species were affected. Water pollution also poses a grave threat. The Wollongong, Colo, and Wollongong rivers are all affected by polluted water. The Australian coal mining industry also poses a threat to the Blue Mountains. Longwall coal mining is done close to boundaries of the World Heritage Area. This mining can cause a whole mess of issues, including cliff collapse, increased water pollution, loss of water in lakes, lowering of water tables, and destruction of swampland. Overall, the World Heritage Outlook has given the management of the Blue Mountains the rating of most effective. They have rated the legal framework as highly effective. The Blue Mountains area is protected by the Federal Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act, the National Parks and Wildlife Act, and the Wilderness Act. In an effort to preserve the ecological diversity of the national park, the NSW's National Park and Wildlife Services has undertaken numerous initiatives. Examples include the introduction of animals and plants in a controlled environment, the close monitoring of endangered and threatened species, managing and minimizing human impact, as well as upkeep of Aboriginal and historic places within the park. During the fires, the National Parks and Wildlife Services worked diligently and hard to mitigate the damage caused by the fires, rescue wildlife, and protect people in the area. After the fires, the NSW government is implementing an emergency recovery plan to restore the lost wildlife. This includes targeted food drops for threatened species like brush-tailed rock wallabies and installing watering points for koalas. They are also upping their targeting an invasive feral species by starting the largest fox baiting programs and targeted elimination of feral cats. The NPWS is also initiating a large-scale intensive weed control program.
From a human perspective, I think that two big issues facing national parks are lack of governmental funding, as well as lacking care and concern on the part of those who visit the national parks themselves. I think from a more so environmental feature or focus or facet, and this is as well very much human related, the bushfires have definitely had a detrimental impact on the status quo of the biosphere that is the national park.
I think some of the major issues that national parks are facing right now are in terms of climate change and how there's been an increase in natural disasters, which we've seen in forest fires across the world. Additionally, issues related to abuse of the land by either people visiting or companies and corporations that want to take use and utilize that land for other purposes. And we need strong government support that can protect these lands, and as well as communities and organizers to continue to support and elevate narratives that are positive around the protection of national parks and the wildlife that live there.